Good evening, positive people. Buenos noches. Bonjour. Bon dia. Buongiorno. Ni hao. Memenjes. Dobre utro. Namaste. Sawadi. Chawim. Manga nangu manga. Como ye? Sopa wanang sung. Assalamu alaikum. Privet. Guten Tag. Kalimara. And as they say in some neighborhoods, what's good? My name is Kevin Booker Jr.
And I'm Daisy Torres.
And welcome to the Cultural Flipside. We're going to have an awesome show today. We're talking about environmental, social, and justice. I tell you, I'm really excited about our guest. But before we get to our guest, Daisy, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm just excited. It's, the warm weather's here. It's almost the end of the school year. Winding down, thinking about vacation.
Yeah.
That's what's on my mind lately.
Yeah.
What about you?
I tell you, I'm enjoying the beautiful weather right now.
Yes, exactly.
I'm actually really excited. The next coming weeks, the weather's changing. I love getting outdoors. I love breathing the fresh air, hiking. Oh. And I know the other day you were telling me about little, hiking and everything and camping.
Yeah.
You have to share with the viewers out there a little bit about.
It's interesting. So I like to hike. I like to walk, run, bike. Those are my, wonderful outdoor activities. But something that is a little interesting is I've never been camping.
Wow.
I know.
So I know you're going camping this summer.
Yeah, it is something that I want to try. And I'm being told you've got to try the camping, with the real tent out in the middle of nowhere, no electronics. Is that what you would recommend?
Absolutely. That's the way I like to do it.
Just making sure. Because I know I've heard there's ones where you have full bathrooms and showers. There's all kinds of things, right?
Yes.
So you're saying.
I like to bring my shovel and everything.
Oh my gosh. You're saying I should do the traditional
camping.
What about people tell me all these mosquitoes just get
Bring
you
some off.
Okay. I'm just telling you what people have been telling me. Mosquitoes and weird animal noises at night. Do I have anything to be afraid of?
No, you don't have anything to be afraid of. You'll love it.
Okay.
Especially when you're looking at the sky at night, looking at the stars and the moon. It's beautiful out there. Okay. And the landscape, so you're going to really enjoy it.
So I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to come back on the show. I'm going to tell you what I thought.
I can't wait. I'm really excited about her coming back on the show, telling us about her little camping.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
I know.
Great.
So when you think about being outdoors and just experiencing life, sometimes I think about, a lot of people never get that opportunity. Why do you think it's so important sometimes to make sure we get out, even if it's just to take a walk? So
there's a lot, I do a lot with my my team at work about the importance of self-care, right? And just to every time we meet as a team, we always have an opening circle as part of our routine, and a lot of it has to do with self-care. We do meditation. We might get up and do some movement. The other day I went just for a walk to pick something up in the building next door. Yeah. But I could have easily sent somebody else to go grab it for me. But I said I need to get outside. I need to take a break and just do that. It's good for your mind, right? And there's a lot to be said about just getting a little vitamin D,
Absolutely.
right? And it just brings, for me, on a beautiful day, it totally lifts up my spirits, right? Like today when we were talking, it was a beautiful day, and we were all right? Versus being stuck inside in an office without any windows, or not talking to anybody, being on Zoom all day. It's not healthy for your mind. That's not normal, right? It's okay to do it, but I think it's important that we get outside and really just connect with nature,
Absolutely.
right? For me, I love just walking by the beach and just listening to the sounds of the waves, and just that to me is connecting with nature is just really rejuvenating.
And what I love about it is just being out and about, breathing the fresh air. It brings me to a state of peace and calm. I'm so calm throughout my day. Every morning I need to take my walk.
Yeah.
I do my 3 miles. I walk, process things that are going on throughout my day. I'm breathing the fresh air. And when I think about, I feel so, appreciative with the fact that I can breathe fresh air.
Yeah.
Because the reality is the environment is changing. And not everyone has that opportunity to breathe fresh air.
True.
And in the past year and a half, because I started educating myself on the environmental changes that are occurring throughout our planet, I also changed my diet.
Really?
I have more of a plant-based diet now.
Wow.
Because I realized I learned a lot of things about animals and how they're processed, and I learned about the manufacturing plants where our animals are, our chickens and our cows. You know, I'm gonna leave that to our guests as well later on, because I don't want to ruin everything as far as educating. And then when I became a little bit more educated about our food and where our food comes from, and also how it's detrimental to our planet because of supply and demand, because so many people are consuming meat on high levels, it also is detrimental on many levels as well.
Wow.
So these are some of the things we're going to discuss today. And I'm really looking forward to our guests to put a spotlight on some of these things that are occurring, and how it also affects our community, the coastal lines.
Yeah, that is so true.
And also when you look at communities of color, are they receiving the fresh air that they deserve? And why? And how does that impact those communities with the manufacturing plants and asthma rates going up in certain communities as well?
That's awesome, because I got to be honest, this, when we decided to talk about this topic, I was really excited because I need, I'm sure some viewers can connect, I need to learn more about this important topic, right?
Absolutely.
I know a little, and I'm aware of certain dietary pieces, like you had mentioned, and I know how much I enjoy the outdoors, but like you just said, we're very blessed, right?
Very
and
blessed.
I know that, and I don't take that for granted, right? But you're right. There are so many people who don't have those opportunities.
Right. And the reality is, that when you look at science and you look at the changes that will occur within the next 10 to 15 years, 20 years, that can impact our families, generations to come. And that's why this topic is extremely important for us to discuss today.
Absolutely.
So Ron, I want to get to our awesome guests today, because these are the experts. These are the people who are in the trenches, who are doing phenomenal work. And I want you all as viewers to definitely keep your earphones on and glue in, because this is a topic that we really need to put a spotlight on and really need to discuss today. So Ron, if you can bring on Dr. Roger Coombs, Jason Hine, and Denise, I would greatly appreciate it, because this is going to be an awesome show today. And we're going to talk a little bit about environmental, social, and justice. This is an important topic that affects everyone on this planet on so many levels. So Jason, Denise, and Dr. Roger Coombs,
welcome.
Thank you so much for being on the Cultural Flipside.
We're so happy to have you. Welcome to the Cultural Flipside.
Thank you very much. Great to see you.
Wonderful.
So for the world, and I know there's so many people who are watching the show today, I would like each one of you, can you share something about yourself for the viewers out there? I'm going to start with Denise. Denise, if you can just share a little bit about who you are, I would greatly appreciate it. And then I'll go to Jason and then Dr. Roger Coombs.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on here. It's a pleasure, and I'm excited to talk about these things with you all. I'm Denise. I'm a senior at the University of New Hampshire, and I am majoring in political science and international affairs with minors in Russian and economics. And I'm just really interested in taking what I'm learning at university and putting it into action. I'm really passionate about these social and environmental issues, and I want to help make the change.
Thank you, Denise. And Jason, can you share something about yourself as well for our listeners today?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kevin, for having me on. Thank you, everybody. So yes, I for a while, for I think the past 5 years, I taught racial and social injustice as the lead educator for Discovering Amistad. So my job was to take students from New London, New Haven, and Bridgeport out onto the water in Long Island Sound, teach them how to sail, and also teach them some of the story of the Amistad of 1839, the incident, and then to teach and develop themes of racial injustice. Alongside that has been this concern I've had about climate change. And so I have left that job in order to open up a zero waste market and cafe so that I can spend my life and my career now full time addressing this topic and this issue. So again, thanks for having me on and allowing me to share.
Thank you, Jason. And I'm really looking forward to you sharing a little bit about your new project and also your store as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Roger Coombs, the famous Dr. Roger Coombs, can you let the world know who you are as well?
Well, thank you very much, Kevin. It's an honor to be here with you guys. I'm a geologist and working on climate change, climate action, meaningful climate action. I'm the Connecticut State Coordinator for an all-volunteer group called Citizens Climate Lobby. We have 200,000 people across the country and 1,400 here in Connecticut. We have a bill in Congress, H.R. 2307, the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act, trying to put a price on carbon. I also have a small sustainable practices company in Mystic here. And I've worked around the world on a number of natural resources and water projects, cleanup projects. I worked on Superfund site cleanups. I worked with First Nation tribes on most of the continents and in about 100 countries around the world over the years. So for me, addressing climate change as a sustainable thing is critical because it addresses all components of our society, and it requires that we act and do so in an ethical and inclusive and empowering manner. So that's what's really driving me, Kevin.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roger Coombs. Thank you. And when you talk about sustainability, why is it important for people to understand the impact of climate change? Because as Daisy said earlier, this is her first time really addressing this topic, but she's just like millions of other people as well throughout our planet who may be unaware of the impact of climate change. So I'm going to start with you, Dr. Roger Coombs, and then I'll go right to Denise, and then I'll go right to Jason.
Okay, great. Well, Daisy, first of all, your interest in this is fantastic. Thank you so much. And your questions are key. Sustainability is the realization that we are all in the same boat. We are on Earth, and the environment is scaled from the size of the planet all the way down to your household. And this is really important on a neighborhood and city level. Really, really critical. In that sphere of the environment, we have the sphere of our community. Without the environment, we have no place to live. So in the community, this is where we interact with our environment. And inside that sphere of community is the sphere of the economy. Without people, we don't have an economy. So this is how I see sustainability. So we have to be proactive on protecting the environment, creating a resilient and equitable and ethical communities, and doing so in an equitable economic fashion. How this impacts climate change is that climate change impacts all of those aspects of our society. Rich or poor, whatever ethnicity you might be, wherever you might live. We're seeing food shortages because of droughts or floods or extreme weather. We're seeing sea level rise right here in Connecticut. It's happening. And we have coastal and tidal rivers. So the Connecticut River, it rises as the sea level rises. So we're going to get increased floods all the way up to Hartford, for instance. And we also see our forests changing. Things like some of the keystone species here in the forest, like maple trees, they're becoming less able to live here because of the slow warming of the planet.
Wow.
And we also see that when we have droughts and fires and storms and things like this in places where people are really just trying to make a living, they can't do it. So they migrate. These are climate refugees. And when they migrate, they bump into other groups of people. And this has been triggering wars. A lot of the wars around the world are actually rooted in changes in climate and people's ability to, support themselves and raise their kids. And this is what's happening on the southern border of the United States right now. And we had so many people come up from Puerto Rico after the hurricanes, Hurricane Maria, and so on and so forth. And so we've been talking to them as well about how to pass meaningful legislation on a city level and on a state level and on a federal level so that we can address climate change that actually improves people's lives, and does so all across all of our spectrums.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dr. Roger Coons. Thank you.
Very insightful.
Very insightful. Denise, same question to you as well. Why is it important for people to understand the impact of climate change?
Yeah, so I mean, I think everyone really appreciates the world that they live in. So I think it's all rooted in that. And understanding what Roger Coons was saying is really important, and understanding the volatility of this issue as well, and all of the bits and pieces of it is really important. But sometimes I think that it can get a bit too much, especially with social media and seeing all this information everywhere, like every time you go online. So I think it's important to understand the issue, but it's also important to start small. And I like what Dr. Coons was saying, is that sustainability can be seen all across the board. So you can start small and start with yourself, or start with your family and in your household, and see, we buy plastic water bottles every week. Why don't we just get or look for reusable containers that we can just put our water in, and starting bit by bit, and then impacting the community and so on. So I think because it's such a big issue, you can just start really small, understand where sustainability can be seen on the microscopic level, and then bring it out into the rest of the world. So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Denise, for even addressing and discussing the importance of sustainability within yourself. And start bit by bit. And that's so important, because we have to reflect on ourselves and our own actions, and before we can continue on impacting around us, and touching on things around us as well. So Jason, same question for you. Why is it important for people to understand the impact of climate change?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I mean, it's like a lot of things, because it's a complicated sort of geographical and geological issue. It can be harder as a sort of emergency to identify, and so I think people don't necessarily see it. The way you might see a fire and recognize an emergency, or see a tornado and its devastation and say that's an emergency. But the warming of our waters might not make its appearance to everybody so clearly. And so I was reading I grew up on National Geographic. I used to love that magazine as a kid. I grew up reading it. Every month I looked forward to my National Geographic. And I don't know what year it was, but it was like 2018, maybe. Don't take that with a grain of salt. I don't know what year it was. And there was an article on the Great Barrier Reef. And I thought, I love coral reefs. I got to read this. And I was devastated to read the article from National Geographic. This is a source I've always trusted, about how half of the Great Barrier Reef is already gone.
Wow.
Because of the warming waters, because they've essentially got a fever, right? Because the water is so warm. And that just over a 1 or 2 year period, massive percentages of the Great Barrier Reef is gone. And I read this article, and I was devastated. And I just think that we have this overwhelming issue, and I strongly feel we got to act. We got to act quickly and now. And I'll add this, and this is what I love about your show, Daisy and Kevin. You think about and how divided our nation is right now, right? I mean, politically and socially, it's really stressful to watch the division. But a vast majority of people recognize climate change as a serious issue. And I think I see an opportunity for us to rally around this in a positive way, and in a weird way, bring us together in a fight that matters. And so that's where I'm coming from, and that's what I see being so important.
Wow, that's really,
Wow.
I love what you just said, Jason, about just rallying together, right? And I think that is so important. it just speaks to the fact that this is affecting everyone, right? It doesn't matter, where you come from, where you live. It is affecting us now and for future generations to come, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, etc., right? And so this is really great conversation for me, like we framed at the beginning of the show, just because I'm learning too, as many are on this topic. I mean, you hear in conversations people talk about climate change and, you need to recycle and you need to do these things, but I don't know that people really understand the deep, importance of this for our future. So thank you so much for highlighting this. Now, I'm going to just pose a question to the three of you, and then we'll take turns going around. So, what environmental changes do you think will be occurring in the near future, right, that will significantly impact our coastlines and our cities? Right, and this is important because we have a lot of young people, and I'm going to be honest. I love my millennials, but sometimes they think that they're invincible, right? And I really need to. My millennials who are out there listening, please listen. This is just the educator and me and Kevin. We educators, so we like to just speak to the people. So can you please just highlight it a little bit about what's coming up, what's coming down the pike? Do you think? And we'll start with Denise. Then we'll go to Dr. Coons, and then we'll finish with Jason.
So I think what brings me hope, at least, is the change in the administration. And although you can be as critical as you want of it, and you can be, which is important too, but I think it brings a lot of new hope for policies and research and development on the topic of climate change and the environment. And the different representation that the Biden administration has brought into the government is also really important. And the re-entry into the Paris Climate Accords was also really important too. And I do see hope in that. And the offshore wind energy too is really exciting. But there's still work to be done, and it doesn't have to really entail that to be on the governmental level. It can be done on the individual level, and I definitely see people my age, at least, trying to be more sustainable and practicing or sustainable consumption. And I see businesses practicing these conscious initiatives to see how they can impact the community and educate their community. I just recently interned for a media company in Maine trying to certify as a B Corporation. And it was just so enlightening to see that there are so many companies out there that want to influence society, and it doesn't just have to be the government. And when we submitted our application, we have to wait now 8 months actually to see if we even can, be certified, because there are so many applications and so many businesses want to be better for the future too. So I think there's a lot of hope in the future, and I'm really excited for it.
That's awesome.
Thank you so much. Dr. Coons, same question.
Well, first of all, Daisy and Denise as well, you guys are the reason I'm an optimist. You're younger than me. You are seeing the world through younger eyes and eyes of opportunity. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is why I'm an optimist, because you're asking questions and you're doing stuff. And Kevin, you're bringing people on the show. I love this podcast, and all across the spectrum of every view. And that's what we need. Imagine you live in New London. And imagine you have a house or an apartment or a store down on Bank Street or near the water level. And now we get another hurricane, that comes up the coast, and the moon is full, and we get a high storm tide. And you've just put down all your savings into trying to fix up this apartment or store or whatever. And now you have 8 feet of water in everything you own. That's what's happening now. And we're going to see that again. I was here when we had the last couple of hurricanes and saw the floods. I bailed out basements. And so our immediate impact is directly on your quality of life, your health and your safety, your job. your family, where your kids are going to be. I was talking to this young kid down in Florida after the hurricanes came through a couple years ago, and he said, I am only 11 years old, and I've been in 3 hurricanes that have flooded my bedroom.
Oh my
This,
gosh.
this is the personal
Jeez.
impact. And on top of that, why is climate change happening so fast now?
That's
It
right.
is because we're burning fossil fuels. Fossil fuels put carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. This warms the planet. It's like plugging in all of your electric space heaters in one room at the same time, and you realize it's getting pretty hot in here. That's what's happening here. And what this then does is it creates a situation where for a century, we've had the fossil fuel companies and the chemical companies and the big industries putting their facilities in the communities that give the least pushback. And these are typically the communities that don't have much money. They're minorities. And these are the people that we need to empower and embrace for
Absolutely.
their human potential. And we're not doing that with our energy supply, nor our addressing of climate change now. So for me, I'm looking at the individual human impact that climate change is having on every single one of us. Denise is right. It's hitting every single one of us. And we will see those least able to deal with it suffer the most. We're already seeing that. And so what, Jason is part of the effort, and Denise is now part of the effort, and we are trying to get the cities of Connecticut to declare a climate emergency. In an emergency situation, you act. We are then going to take this to the General Assembly in the next session in next year, and we'll be seeking co-sponsors for this bill this summer and fall. And we want the state of Connecticut to declare a climate emergency and in their budget, make a line item budget. They've already started some of this process. And there's like 25 climate related bills that are being considered in the Environment and Energy and Technology committees right now. So there's work being done. But the problem is, as Denise said, we can't have this partisanship. We're all in the same boat. And so we need to just realize that if you're in the bow of the boat and I'm in the stern of the boat, but there's a hole in the middle, we're both going down.
That's right.
And we have to work together to fix this boat. This boat is Earth. And so we've presented to over 15 municipalities this year and last year. We have 5 cities representing over 500,000 people in Connecticut that have passed a climate emergency and supporting carbon taxing and fees and a dividend. So we're making progress. But we're working with over 25 high school students and over a half a dozen college students, as well as all spectrum of the people in Connecticut. And I'll tell you, when you get a high school student who's 15 in front of somebody my age, who's on a city council, and the high school student says, I have no idea what my future's like. There's some quietness in the room for a moment. And they're speaking the truth.
So important, so powerful. You were just lifting, especially with the connection that I had made earlier to the young folks, our young people, right? And the importance of helping them understand. Because I have to be honest with you, Dr. Coons, you lifted education, and that was not taught to me as a student in high school nor college. And so that is so important, right? That we learn that from very early on. That becomes part of our, curriculum, in school, in public education. So thank you so much for lifting that.
And if I could add just one thing, Daisy, we are asking the cities in the committees and the councils that make the laws to include high school students as advisors on those.
Excellent. I think that's amazing because, there's a lot of research on student voice, right? And having and advocating and really having influence on changes in policy. So I just love everything you just said about that. So thank you so much because I'm all about what we can do
education.
to educating our young our young people and getting them to advocate and changing things for their future. That's what we need them to do. Thank you so much. And so Jason, we ask you the same thing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I love that question. Well, I'd like to first say that I think it's really important for adults to make sure that we're not always talking to the kids and the youth. There's plenty of very active, very knowledgeable youth right now. For example, members of the Sunrise Movement and their leadership. We should be listening to them. They are young people who know their stuff, and they are very educated, very organized, and they are rolling. I mean, they're not waiting for the adults. They are moving on this topic. And so, if there are young people that don't want to hear it from the adults, they don't have to. There's plenty of kids out there that are really entrenched on the front lines of this issue. So that's the first thing I'd like to say. You know, and then to those kids that haven't made those little changes, you know, Denise was talking about making little changes, starting small. For those students that haven't done that yet, you know, I would ask them to imagine, you know, some of your favorite animals, for example, right? I mean, and usually I'll ask that question because a lot of us think of the sort of the big animals, right? The rhinos, right? And the tigers, and the polar bears, right? All these sort of big animals. Funny thing is, as big and strong as those animals are, they're going to be some of the most affected. They're in real trouble. They're going to be the first to go extinct.
Wow.
And many have. I mean, there are some species of rhino that have gone extinct in my lifetime. And so, you know, these things are already happening, and I'm really, really worried about some of these other big animals out there that kids have grown up with and just assume are always going to be there, right, throughout their lifetimes. If we're not careful, they won't be. And that concerns me. And I think kids need to know and think about what their favorite things on the planet are. And that they need to understand that those things need us.
That's right.
And so there's a lot of reasons to get involved. I might just add one more thing. I had mentioned the coral reefs. You know, it's an interesting animal, coral is, because not only are the reef systems home to some of the most diverse populations of marine animals and species. I mean, it's incredibly diverse. If you've seen images of coral reefs, it's just blooming with all kinds of diverse life. But they can't move. They are anchored. They're an animal that can't move. They're part of they're rooted in, and they can't move. And so when the water warms, you know, the lobsters went north in search of cooler waters. They moved. They're not living really in Long Island Sound anymore. There's no more lobstering here. It's gone. But the coral reefs can't do that. Coral is stuck there. And so if their water's warm, they can't move. And so they'll die. And so I would ask young people to think about all the species that are the most at risk, and use that as a motivation to start somewhere. That's what I would say.
Wow.
That's a great.
I like what you just said, Jason. Those things need us. And the reality is we need them as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that really resonated with me when you were speaking. Those things need us. And we need them.
Yep.
So, you know, right now I'm just looking at the three of you on the show, Dr. Roger Coombs, Jason Hine, Denise Kahan. But when I think about, there's so many people who are passionate about this topic, right? And they're embracing it and wanting to create change. But some people may feel overwhelmed with the size of this problem and not sure where to begin. What are one or two things the average person can do or change in their life to make a positive impact on the environment? And I'm going to start off with Jason, and then I'll go to Denise, and then Dr. Roger Coombs.
That's a fantastic question, because I often feel very overwhelmed. I mean, there's so much to do. We run the risk of being apathetic and just not doing anything, because it's like, well, why bother? You know, why start? And it's that feeling of overwhelmed, that overwhelming feeling can really hurt our efforts. And so it's important. It's the first thing is it's important for people to find. I heard this on NPR once. I guess that's your competitor. Sorry, but on NPR, I heard somebody say who was fighting climate change. You have to choose to be optimistic, and it's a choice. You don't just be optimistic. You choose it. And so I would say first choose to be optimistic, and that's important before you start doing anything. You got to choose that. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna do this. And the other thing is not to plug my store, but I haven't opened yet. But that is exactly why I'm opening a store. It's a brick and mortar designed to sell eco-friendly products and help people reduce their carbon footprint. But the whole point isn't just to get people to buy stuff. It's to use this place to take that overwhelming amount of information that's out there, those overwhelming problems, and just help people focus on a couple of changes they can make in their own lifestyles, and then maybe help them make a political connection, maybe join an organization, and so my goal is to be able to offer customers who come into the store not just the products, but a way to make a choice and take that overwhelming feeling that they may have when they walk into the store and have them walk out with a way to get started.
Nice.
Wow.
So, I don't know if that's too vague of an answer, but
no, that was well said, Jason.
That's what I've been thinking of. I like your question because that's what's driving me.
Wow. Thank you, Jason. Thank you so much. Denise, what comes to your mind? One or two things that the average person can do or change in their life to make a positive impact on the environment?
Yeah, so I think the first step also doesn't really have to be that tangible. It can just be taking a step back and, looking at your life and seeing what you care about the most. And chances are you probably really care about the pet that you have at home, or the garden that you see every single day on your walks, or anything like that, or the beach. And thinking about how much you appreciate those things, and then understanding what's at risk there, and seeing maybe there's something that you can do personally. So if you care a lot about your animal at home, and you care about all the other, you feel that love for all the other animals, maybe taking one day and seeing if you reduce your meat consumption, what is that going to do? And just taking it step by step, I think, is the best way to go. But before you even do that is just, taking a step back, looking at your life, seeing what's important, and then slowly moving forward in that progress. So I think I would go about it in that way, and it doesn't have to be this fast-paced thing, because it's a gradual thing that everybody, I think, should start to realize. And I think we've been realizing it during COVID too, as everybody wants to be outside. So yeah, and I would also like to say that Jason's store is a place to start too.
That's awesome.
I'm ready to check out the store.
Ron, we're going to actually have to highlight Jason's store.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Dr. Roger Coons, same question directed to you as well.
Well, I totally agree with what Denise and Jason said. And I think when I was young, when I was in high school, there were other issues going on, First Earth Day, things like this. And I realized that if I got involved with other people my age, I learned a lot. If I got to know my neighbors that I sometimes took for granted, I learned a lot from them. Every single one of us has a unique thing to add to our society.
Absolutely.
Every single one of us. And it's my responsibility to get to know you. It's my responsibility to stand up and help other people come together. And that is empowering the people that vote. We have to vote, and you have to vote smart. You have to vote for things that will give your great grandchildren a world as good as what we have. And so my first thing is get involved. Find a group or people or a neighborhood, a place to volunteer, a summer job, something at work maybe, and start talking about exactly what Daisy raised at the beginning of this podcast. Ask some questions, seek answers.
Right.
Then, when you vote, you'll be voting with the knowledge that you're voting for the future. The second thing is that there is a lot of stuff we can do on an individual level. And thinking about scale, as Denise said, is really important. And shopping in a place where you can get products that are less damaging to the environment is really important. First of all, we're humans that have too many people in the world. Too many. And by 2050, we're going to have over 9 billion. And the Earth cannot sustain this. So we have to think about the big picture and the small picture. What makes some of the biggest changes in America, for instance, in terms of how industries, which do not self-regulate, and how industries behave? And this is law. This is why we seek legislation. Talk to your elected officials. If you join me and Jason and some other people, we see our representatives and senators' offices 3 times, 4 times a year, all of them. We see the local elected officials, like you, Kevin. You're on the New London City Council, which is hard work. My God, you know? It is hard work, and it's thankless work many days. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for standing up and pulling communities together.
Absolutely.
And that's so get involved and make sure your elected officials hear your voice. And all those things that Jason and Denise said too. But we can do them all at once because we each don't have to do all of them.
Right.
You have an expertise, do that. I have an
Absolutely.
expertise, I'll do that. Jason has an expertise, I'll do that. And so as a team, as a community, what a wonderful word. It's a community. My goodness, if we empower and if we embrace this amazing human potential in all of our communities, that's, again, I'm an optimist about this. I've worked in some of the worst places in the world. I've seen cities and countries fall. I've seen horrible things, but I've also seen the beauty of humanity. And in the thousands of cultures I've passed through or worked in or met, there is the commonality of, I want to have food on the table. I want my kids to be happy.
That's right.
And I want to be. And if we don't address climate change now, aggressively, we won't have that for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren.
Absolutely, right? Everything you're saying, I completely agree with. Knowledge is power. Right? And we need to educate ourselves more about that. So I appreciate you, all of you, especially some of the very just simple things one can do in their everyday life. Like, for example, Denise, your advice a little bit about thinking about what's close and near and dear to your heart, right? And start there, like that idea of connecting to what's familiar, and then trying to make very small changes. That's more palatable, right? Than just trying to do something really big. Absolutely. Or a number of things on an agenda, too many things at once. So I really appreciate you making that easy for some of us who are looking to do something. And so with that being said, as we close, I just first of all want to thank each of you for being here on this topic. I think we can all agree we can continue talking for a long time, and we're all very passionate, and I'm learning, right? I'm on a journey, and I appreciate it, right? And we're all entering in different points. And so, for our viewers, myself included, what advice or closing words might you have for those who are listening about, just, sort of the importance of this topic, as well as where someone like myself or the viewers can go for more information, or if we really just want to, empower ourselves a little bit more. So I will start with, let's see, I'll go Jason, and then I will go to Dr. Kuntz, and then we'll finish with Denise.
All right. Well, thanks again. So I'll just say thank you. for doing this. I think your show is very important, and I think that's exactly what the media should be doing, having these conversations. So thank you very, very much. I would just say my advice, my final thought, far be it for me to give anybody advice, but particularly for the viewers or listeners who are feeling overwhelmed, one thing you could do is just join an existing group. What's great about joining a group is they've already figured out a lot of this stuff. They're already, if the group's been around for a long time, I'll let Roger talk about CCL, but the Sunrise Movement, for example, there's other organizations out there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can join a group that needs you just as much as you need them to get started. See what's out there. If the group's not for you, then you don't stay joined, you unjoin. And you find another group of like-minded individuals that you can be a part of, and that you can be so that you can find ways to be productive. So they're out there. So you might just start by Googling, using your computer, your internet, and seeing who's out there. You might find that some of your friends and neighbors are already doing this, and just need to join them.
Yeah.
Awesome advice.
Wow.
Okay. Dr. Coons.
Okay, well, agree with that. And I'll tell you, I'm Connecticut State Coordinator for Citizens Climate Lobby. So anywhere in the country, in fact, we're global, anywhere in the world, you can go to citizensclimatelobby.org, and there are people just like you. There are people that have asked the same questions, and some that they haven't thought of that you have. And we have a huge amount of resources, and we have monthly meetings here in Southeast Connecticut, and we have 6 chapters across the state. And we also work with Sunrise. Some of our members, one of our members, Sana Wazer, is the co-founder of Sunrise Connecticut, and she's also in CCL. And we're helping her, and she's helping us. I am a member of Rise Up Mystic that Jason founded, and Jason's a member of Citizens Climate Lobby. So in finding these groups, and kind of like a bee goes from flower to flower, we're finding synergy in these groups. We're finding knowledge. We're finding a common cause. And so citizensclimatelobby.org is a place to get climate and lobbying and law information, connect with young people, old people, and everybody in between. The diversity in this group is increasing. We're very aware that many of these groups start out with, old white retired people, quite frankly. And that's not what the United States is.
That's right.
We reached out to the high schools. Jason helped, and Kevin, you have helped. You've spoken to us. I've been to your talks, and so when we reach out to these other groups that we might not know as much about, but we have some common vision or goal or task, we can really work together and do things for each other. And so there's those sources of information, and there's people in your community that mean you don't have to reinvent the wheel sometimes.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you, Roger.
Thank you so much. Okay, Denise.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I think what I was going to say was pretty similar, but just talk about it. Talk about what you care about with the environment and social issues. And even if the people that you're talking about or talking to don't know too much, or you don't know too much, that conversation is so valuable, and it just keeps the wheel spinning. And I recommend joining communities, because that's where those conversations are. Right. But just talking to your friends about it, talking to your family about it. And I guess to be more specific, I just would like to mention, joining a community garden. I volunteer for Fresh New London, and the people that I meet there are just amazing, and talking to them about all sorts of things is just awesome while you're gardening and doing something for the environment. So I recommend that if anyone's looking for anything specific. But yeah,
That's
thank you for
advice.
having me.
That's really great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I would love for the viewers who are watching this show today to be able to get in contact with you, to know, because it's a community. And as we all are doing, and we're all empowering people, to be active in this movement. And you are all agents of change when it comes to climate change and creating awareness. So I would love for you to share your contact information, your store. That would be great as well. So I'm gonna start off with you, Jason, first, and then I'm gonna go to Denise, and then Dr. Roger Coons will end us off there. But I'd just love for you to share your social media platform and how can people get in contact with you who are watching this show today. Thank you.
Yeah, all right, cool. You said I was going first, right?
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. So I didn't want to jump in if I wasn't supposed to. So yeah, my name is it's Jason Hine, and so the store I'm opening is in Mystic, Connecticut, and it's got a kind of a funny name. It's named after a sailor's bag called a Ditty bag. So that's D as in dog, ITTY bag. So my email address is jasonh@theDittyBag.com. So pretty easy to remember. Now, if you forgot that, if you just type in Zero Waste Store, in a couple of weeks we will be up and running. We're opening in Mystic on June 8th. Nice. And so you can either contact me by email or stop by the store in Mystic in just a few weeks and come on in and we'll be here. And so will Denise, because I was very lucky to find her and she's going to be working with me. So we'll both be there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So
wonderful.
Yeah. June 8th.
June 8th. Thank you.
I'll be there.
All right. All right.
Awesome.
And Denise?
Yeah, you can find me at the store too.
Yes.
And my email, it has a lot of numbers, but it's dk1090@wildcats.unh.edu. I'm sure if you just type in my name, Denise Kaihan, you'll be able to find me somewhere on social media. So I am also available there on all of those platforms. But yeah.
Wonderful.
Awesome. And the famous Dr. Roger Coons.
Not nearly as famous as you are, Kevin. I'm a fan. Yeah.
I'm a fan as well.
My email is my name, Roger James Coons, ROGERJAMESKUHNS @gmail.com. And then I have a YouTube channel, Roger James Coons, on YouTube. And on the YouTube channel, you can see a lot of instructional videos. I've interviewed politicians. We're doing a film this summer where I'm going to try to pull Denise into this, but we're interviewing young people across the state, from high school to college, to young business entrepreneurs, to get their opinion on how we can help them, what they can tell us, what we can help them with for the future. So YouTube channel, Roger James Coons, and then my email, rogerjamescoons.com at gmail.com. So happy to answer questions and love to meet people.
That is
Wonderful.
awesome.
I love it.
First of all, I just want to thank you all for being on the show, taking time out of your busy day. Thank you so much for your work, your hard work, your dedication, your commitment to our planet, to making our planet welcoming and inviting for everyone.
Absolutely.
So that we all can have a sustainable life on so many levels. So I appreciate you all. I love your energy.
Absolutely.
And I just love the work you are all doing. You are so inspirational on so many levels.
Yes, thank you again for your time today. You know, in Spanish, we have a phrase, a saying that says, sigue luchando, right? Keep fighting, meaning the good fight. This is important advocacy work that you're doing, and I thank you. It's really important, and it's even, more so with the information that we need to keep ourselves informed on, right? And continue, with the questions and dialogues, right? This platform, these kinds of conversations, how important they are. So I just want to thank you because, when Kevin and I were talking about the topic for this show, I was really piqued with interest.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I'm as familiar with as I've mentioned earlier in the show, but I'm walking away with a sense of, I want to learn more, and I will do so.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to seeing your store, Jason, in a few short weeks. I live close by in New London, and
We'll be there. Cultural Flipside will be there.
Maybe we should just film from there. That might not be a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
Okay, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. So thank you again for all that you do for the community.
Thank you both too
Thank
for
you
your
so
show,
much.
Daisy and Kevin. I love what you do, and so important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.
And have a wonderful day.
Enjoy.
All right, you too. Take care, everybody.
Take
Have a
care
nice
now.
weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
I love it.
That
Can't
was
wait to
powerful.
go visit that store.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be there.
Yes, we definitely need to go. Wow. That was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Got me thinking.
What are you taking away from that conversation today?
You know, like you know how we've talked a lot about
Yeah.
like me traveling, and I love being
Yeah.
outdoors, but you know, they're absolutely right. Like sometimes, you know, you don't think about it, and if we're
Mhm.
not taking care of our environment, people are not gonna be able to enjoy what we're
No.
enjoying right now.
Mm-mm.
I mean, one other thing that really, you know, made me think was about, you know, food consumption,
Yeah.
right? Like, I know we didn't talk deep into that, but
Mhm.
it's making me think about the analogy they used about the animal,
Animal.
right? Like this idea that,
Mhm.
you know, you keep eating, these animals are not gonna be
Correct.
around much longer. They're gonna go extinct, right? And you don't
Mhm.
think about it, right? When you're in that, and you know, my sister's a vegan, and she's
Mhm.
very much about that, and you know, I've limited my meat choices, but not completely. Chicken, turkey, that kind of thing. And you know, thinking, oh, it's not that big of a deal,
Mhm.
but it is a big deal.
It is.
So I need to do some reflecting.
And your boy is a vegetarian as well.
Oh,
I know.
What?
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah, and I was inspired by having these conversations.
Wow.
That's what changed my entire diet a year and a half ago.
So it's been about a year and a half. Wow.
Yeah, so it was because I became more aware of what was occurring on our planet when it
Right.
comes to climate change. So I
Exactly.
made a conscious decision one day. At first, it started off with meatless Mondays, and then I went from meatless Mondays, and I went, okay, I'll try one day a week
Really?
without eating any meat. And then I challenged myself the second week. I'll say, you know what? I did one day a week, so let me try 2 days. And then before you know it, I started in November, and then in 2019, and then by the time I got to December, around Christmas, I just said, you know what? I'm not going to eat any more meat.
Wow.
And I gave it up completely.
Do you miss it?
No, I don't really miss it as much because now it's part of my lifestyle. And now I understand that by me living the life I live, I'm also benefiting the planet. And I'm also leading by example on many levels. And I told myself, I said, if I ever want to eat fish or something like that, I have to go fishing. If I want chicken or something, I have to kill the chicken on my own. I know.
No.
I know.
No, I'm good.
But on a serious note, it's life changing.
Absolutely.
And it takes something that you have to want to do on your own. And it goes back to exactly what Denise was saying earlier. She said, you have to start with yourself.
Right. Yep.
Then you start bit by bit.
Right.
And that's anything in life. What I learned, even through this process is like, you have to reflect and then think about how is that change going to impact yourself and
Right.
your community, your family, and your surrounding area.
Absolutely.
So I'm very appreciative and happy that I was able to acquire that knowledge and also be able to reflect on myself and create that change.
Absolutely.
But when I think about something that Dr. Roger Kuhn said earlier, he said, every single one of us has a unique thing to add to our society. And today we have Jewel Lucian. And she's a student from Middletown High School.
Oh, I love
And
it.
about a few months ago, I had the opportunity to see this extraordinary young lady deliver a poem and at an oratorical contest online.
Oh, wow.
And she knocked it out the park. She did such a phenomenal job. This young lady is incredible.
I can't wait. to
So,
meet her.
Ron, can you please bring on Jew Lucia, please?
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see her.
Well,
Oh my
hello.
gosh, how are you doing?
Hello.
Hi, welcome
Good.
to the Cultural Flipside.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it is so great to see you.
Yes.
Jewel, can you tell the world a little bit about who you are? I know you're getting ready, you're a senior in high school. If you can tell them where you're planning on going to college as well, because we want to highlight that.
Absolutely.
And we want to highlight some of the great things that you are doing in your community, because you are an activist as well. So if you can tell the world a little about who is Jewel Lucian.
Well, hello. I am Jewel Lucian, a senior at Middletown High School. I am proud to say that I plan to go to Spelman College
Nice.
in the fall.
Awesome.
Congrats.
Um, and thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And a few things that I'm doing in the community. I would say right now, actually, I am carrying out an art program through a grant that I earned through the city. It's an art program for underserved youth in the community. I've definitely seen that there's like a disconnect between the arts and Black youth and resources. So I wanted to allow that to youth in the community that are artists like myself.
Nice.
That is
That's
amazing.
amazing.
Wow.
I'm very impressed that you are just taking a really strong, role and advocacy in your community. That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, Jewel, I want to know, and I really want the viewers to know, like, how did you get involved in poetry? Because you are an extraordinary poet.
Thank you.
get deep into the soul and bring just your words to life. Can you tell us a little bit about that? How did that journey take place?
Well, it kind of came naturally as my dad is a poet. So I kind of always wanted to follow in his footsteps and be a poet myself. But of course, it doesn't just happen like that. And it took my own understanding of literature and life to really grasp poetry myself and be able to utilize the form to my best abilities.
So your father had a lot of inspiration on your art on so many
Yes.
levels. That is beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Considering the fact that Father's Day is coming up in a few more weeks.
Yes.
Just that relationship, that father-daughter relationship. I know
get
you
it.
can relate
I'm
to
a
that,
daddy's
Daisy.
girl all the way, so I understand. Well, it's an amazing relationship. I'm sure you can relate.
So, Jewel, if I know you have like so many poems, and I hear from students all the time. Tell me about Jewel Lucian and her poetry, and they always say to me, "Mr. Booker, I'm trying to get to Jewel Lucian's level."
Oh my goodness! I can't wait.
Yeah. I have like freshmen in high school telling me about her, sophomores,
Oh.
juniors. Yeah.
Listen to this, you're becoming famous.
Yeah, and students come to me and they say, "Wow, she was at a poetry slam, and Mr. Booker, she was incredible." So
Can't wait to hear you.
yeah, and I know you have a lot of your poems memorized as well. So some of the poems, and I know you write a lot. Because I heard about your book, that book that you have, that little. Oh yeah. But I know one day you're gonna be a published poet.
Yep.
I'm putting it in the air now.
That's right. Declare it.
Yep. So, Jewel, if you could share one of your poems with us. The last time I saw you recite your poetry, you stood up on camera. It was powerful. And the way you delivered that poem, I felt like I was in the room. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Little pressure, huh? Little pressure.
So, if you can just share for the viewers out here, one of your poems, and then afterwards explain to us, why did you write that particular poem? We'll greatly appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, here we go. I'm about to get ready for the world, because the world is watching you right now, Jewel Lucian. World, I'm getting ready to introduce a phenomenal poet, Jewel Lucian. Woo! Boom.
Thank you. So this poem that I will be reciting is actually entitled Jewel. And I'll begin now. The nigger woman is the mule of the world. Hair as abundant as a blooming hedge of roses. Skin sun-kissed and gilded with gold. Figure carved and molded by God himself. You are perfection personified. You are like a wave at high tide. Though you may crash, you will inevitably rise. You are as unbound as the skies. You have no limits, you have no ties. Nonetheless, you are as resilient as a stone. Your life is not measured by length, but your strength. Your value is not measured by the depth of your skin, but what you manifest within. Your heart is big. Your future is bright. Please do not give up this fight. You are loved beyond the hate, beyond the spate, beyond the storm. Though you may not adhere to the frame from which is the norm, though the world may pressure and treat you as a mule, my girl, you must never forget that both inside and out, you are indeed a jewel. Thank you.
God.
Wow.
Oh, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Jewel, you even have Ron clapping right now. Oh my gosh. So
That's
Jewel,
amazing.
tell us a little bit about that poem and why the use of the N word in the beginning of the poem. Because there's a reason behind your word usage. And I would like the viewers to understand why you use certain words in particular.
The beginning is a quote from Zora Neale Hurston's "Their Eyes Are Watching God," and I think the quote really speaks to how society views and utilizes Black women as mules, as not even women, you know, the N-word, and I think that it's definitely very prevalent today, despite when the book was written. And the poem is basically just challenging that notion, as it's depicting Black women for what they actually are, which is, you know, the sun-kissed skin, the beautiful hair, no matter what type of curl form, and no matter what type of complexion for the skin. And it's also supposed to be encouraging as well, to Black women, that despite this notion that Black women must carry the burdens of the world as a mule would, that they must continue to, you know, keep going. And it's kind of how I motivate myself as well as a Black woman, which is why it's called Jewel. As a dark-skinned Black girl, I have often been I guess, like, attacked by, like, you know, people that look like me. So it's always I've always used my name as a way to empower myself. As, you know, coal, you know, gems are just coal that did well under pressure. So
Wow.
I just try to remember that and try to share that.
I love that. I love the thinking about the name Jewel and how you just connected that. And when I think about Jewel too, just the shine. You're shining despite the adversity, right?
Absolutely.
And I love that piece. You have such talent. Are you, like, published? That's what I want to know.
Not yet.
Well, we gotta work on that.
Not yet.
We gotta work on you getting published. That's really amazing. Let me ask you this question, Jewel. What are you planning to major in college? Because you certainly have this talent as well.
I was actually planning to major in political science.
Awesome.
That's wonderful. Yes. Keep advocating. Keep being an agent of change. You know, we need to change the world, right, to get it into a place that we can leave for our future, you know, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And so, yes, I love when I see young people just really, you know, taking that torch and leading the way, being a trailblazer. Good for you.
Thank you.
Jewel, you are a phenomenal individual, and I want you to hear that loud and clear. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Okay? You are an amazing young lady. So I know there's so many listeners who are watching the show today, and, you know, they want to know, how can I get in contact with Jewel Lucian? And maybe you might have people who might want you to speak at their school, or, you know, maybe empower younger kids who are into poetry. How can people get in contact with Jewel Lucian?
I guess the best way would be via email. Should I just say my email?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. It's jewel.lucian@gmail.com. So JEWELM.LUCIEN@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's great.
Jewel Lucien. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. You are a phenomenal individual. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Keep it going.
Yes.
Spellman, you got a
Watch
good
out.
one there.
Yes, absolutely.
Jeez.
Thank you for the blessing that you shared with the world today. Jewel, we wish you nothing but success, blessings, and happiness in the years to come. Thank you again for your presence today.
And thank you for
Thank
being on the
you.
cultural flip side.
No
Have
problem.
a great day.
Have a great day, Jewel. Appreciate you,
You
so
too.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh my goodness, she was amazing.
Amazing.
I love it. I love when I hear the young and the young people. They're just excited to make change and really just take on those really challenging topics. And they're just going with it. They're pushing through. What an amazing, powerful poem.
Right.
Deep.
And then what made me even like think about things on another level was she used her name,
I know.
Jewel, to be able to overcome any obstacle that was in her way. Because she's like, my family gave me this name.
Absolutely.
The power of a name.
Yes. Oh, yes. There's a lot to be
And
said
how
about
it just transforms her on so many levels when she's dealing with adversity
Absolutely.
and not allowing anything to hinder her progress.
No. Amazing.
Powerful.
Very much so. Wow.
Wow. Today's show, I mean, just reflecting and thinking back on this show today, thinking about Denise Kahan, thinking about Jason Hine, Dr. Raja Coons,
Phenomenal
and
guest.
Jewel Lucien.
Yes.
Powerful individuals.
Absolutely.
Agents of change, just moving forward. And what I'm taking away from this show today is that when you're passionate about something that really, really drives you, push forward.
That's right.
Even when you feel like, I don't know if I can do it. Surround yourself around others who are passionate as well
Right.
about that particular topic or social issue and continue moving forward.
Absolutely.
Because you were born for a reason.
That's right. And for me, it's really one small change can have an impact on so many people. Like you don't even realize, right, what a word could say, could do for someone. What a simple action, a poem, right, something that you're just, journaling down turns into this blessing for so many people across the world. So,
Absolutely.
I always like to think about things that happen. They don't always have to go into a negative place, right? You could take things that happen and turn it around, turn it to something positive, right? These people have started with these little seeds and they're growing something here that's phenomenal work, all four of them.
Absolutely.
And so we were very blessed to have them today on the Cultural Flip Side. Amazing show. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah. And thank you, Daisy.
I really appreciate it.
And we thank all of you. So let's go to prayer.
Let's do it.
So, God, thank you so much for this day. Thank you so much for the phenomenal guests that were on the Cultural Flip Side today. Thank you for allowing us all to come together to be able to empower our communities and our state and our nation and the planet. And God, thank you so much for giving us the tools and the skills to be able to move forward through all the adversity that we deal with on a daily basis. God, we love you, we appreciate you, and we thank you so much for this platform to be able to share our wisdom and our knowledge. Amen.
Amen.
So I want to thank you all for joining us in prayer as well. Remember, you can pray anywhere. And if sometimes you don't feel like praying, take a walk,
right.
meditate, whatever it is that will empower you to be a better you. Because that's what it is. Continue tapping into your greatness. We love you all. We appreciate you. And we thank you so much for being here on the Cultural Flip Side today.
Muchísimas gracias. Que pases una buena noche. Thank you so much for being with us. Have a great night. Adios.
Peace.